Toastmasters and guests. Raise your hand if you've heard of Dr. Ellen Sachs. She is Warren B. Evans Distinguished Professor of Law. She's a professor of law for psychology, psychiatry, and behavioral sciences. She earned her JD from the Yale Law School. She's published 5 books, written over 50 articles and book chapters. She's accomplished a lot in her life. She's still adding to her book of work. She also has been diagnosed with schizophrenia. Her first episode was when she was 8 years old. Her first major episode, full-blown episode, was when she was at university. There are 3 items I would like for each one of you to take with you today. The first is a more humanistic viewpoint of those that suffer from mental illness. Increased knowledge and clarity of mental illness. And to leave with a better understanding of how you can play a supporting role either in your family or your community. We have a rise in mental illness. 10.2 million Americans have some co-occurring mental illness. Today's focus is on schizophrenia. 1% of the entire population is diagnosed with schizophrenia. That's 50 million people worldwide. It's a lifelong illness. It was first diagnosed in 1887. That's over 100 years ago, like 133 years ago. We've come a long way since then. Schizophrenia comes from a Greek word schizo, split, phrene, mind, which describes the fragmented mind of those diagnosed with this disease. They do not have a split mind, they have a fragmented mind, like puzzle pieces that don't quite fit together. Schizophrenia is a brain disease, just as multiple sclerosis is, Parkinson's disease, and Alzheimer's disease. However, schizophrenia holds a stigma like no other. The neuroscience has come a long way in terms of figuring out what in the brain causes, it could be the cause of schizophrenia. They used to think that it was the dopamine, the neuroreceptors dopamine. And recently they've discovered that it's the neuroreceptor glutamate. And glutamate explains the wide array of symptoms that a client or patient could have. There are positive symptoms and negative symptoms. Positive symptoms are the psychotic symptoms not normally seen in healthy people. This includes delusions, hallucinations, disorganized speech. It also includes abnormal behavior, such as catatonia, standing in one position for long periods of time. The difference between delusions and hallucinations is delusions is a fixed belief regardless of the evidence. So if I tell you I have white rats trying to eat my brain, I absolutely believe that, even though you have all the evidence that's not true. Hallucinations are normally auditory sensory perceptions, and that's hearing voices. Negative symptoms are related to the disruption of emotions and behaviors. That includes the flat effect. That's a monotone. That's being not no expression, no inflection in voice. Also, the reduced speech. Some people actually stop speaking altogether. A reduced motivation, a reduced lack of initiative. a lack of pleasure in things that they would do every day. They no longer have that. One thing that's real important I'd like to point out is they believe they're not ill. And that's what that word means. Anosognosia. Anosognosia. They truly believe they are not ill. Tom, if you were to tell me that I have not been married for 30 years, I have not had 3 children, I do not have 3 grandchildren, I would say, no, you're crazy. I know I'm married. I know I've had 3 children. But they do not believe that. What can we do about this? There are medications. And medications have come a long way. From 1950s, 1980s to current time. Psychotherapy has come an extremely long way from putting people in mental institutions, locking them away, giving them electric shock treatment, strapping them to bed for hours at a time, to talking with them and really understanding who they are and what they're going through so that they can help to understand their behavior, help to understand their thoughts. There are 3 therapies that are common in the treatment of schizophrenia. Cognitive behavioral therapy, that's effective in helping the patient or client to change their thinking patterns, change their behavior patterns. Family therapy, support in coping with the conditions of the diagnosis. And arts therapy, that's creative expression, helps the patient or client to actually express themselves in other ways. Dr. Ellen Sachs, she's lived with this disease for her lifetime. She's an inspiration. She had a whole support team around her to actually help her through her diagnosis, help her through her mental illness. There were 3 things that she talked about when she did her TED Talk. And she closed with this. She said there's 3 things that there's no way I could have gotten through this disease without my family and friends. They understand my disease. They understand how the disease works. It made my relationship with them more meaningful and more deep. Gave me a purpose to live and fight through the disease. Excellent treatment and psychotherapy and pharmacology. And her workplace actually supported her in her disease. So I ask you, what can we do as a community to work together to help to reduce the stigma of those people diagnosed with schizophrenia or any other mental illness, to give them hope for their future?